Today on Madden 25, we'll be simulating the entirety of the 2024 NFL season to see who Madden predicts will win the Super Bowl. I have to point out, when I made this video last year, the game ended up getting the Super Bowl exactly right, with the Chiefs beating the 49ers, so we'll see if Madden's able to make it 2 years in a row. Before we get started, I'd like to point out that I've got some exciting Madden 25 content coming on the channel over the coming days and weeks, as tomorrow I will be kicking off my Denver Broncos franchise with episode 1. So if you're excited for that, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. For today's video, I'm going to choose a random team here. Luckily, there is a team randomizer this year, and it lands on the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's going to be our user for today's video, with head coach Jalen It Hurts down there. His face looks oddly a lot like Troy Franklin from the Denver Broncos. I was looking at some face scans earlier, and apparently Troy Franklin's likeness has accidentally carried over to our coach. No clue how that happened, but F it, we ball. So that brings us here into the 2024 regular season. Franchise looks entirely different. I think the new menus and the news stories look really nice. So let's simulate through the regular season, take a look at the standings, take a look at the stats, and see what we'll be working with going into the playoffs.
Years later.
So we have now made it to the regular season, and we've got some interesting stats here. Von Miller, second in sacks in the big 2024. J.J. McCarthy, second in passing yards as a rookie. I see Madden Sim is still on its craziness from the past, but I will say there are a lot of things I like. The standing screen looks clean. I think the menus here give us a lot of nice information. You can scroll through the team stats for both teams. I think that's very useful when comparing the two opponents. But let's take a look at the standings across the NFL, because there were certainly some interesting results. So in the AFC North, the Bengals finished with the best record in the league. They make the playoffs along with Baltimore. Makes sense. I have a hard time thinking Cleveland only wins 6 games, though. In the South, the Colts win the division, and the Texans get last. This definitely feels unlikely, but I think people are sleeping on both the Colts and the Jags. I think both of them are really going to give the Texans a run for their money. The Dolphins only win 6 games as the Bills and Jets make it out of the East, and then the Chiefs and the Chargers make it in the West as the Raiders score 200 points all year. That has to be a record. The Vikings win the North, with the Lions only winning 7 games and the Packers only winning 6, and both teams collapsing at the end of the year. New Orleans with the number 1 seed. Who can see that coming, as the Bucs also get in? The Eagles win the East. Dallas makes it in as a wild card. And then San Francisco wins the West, with Seattle grabbing a playoff spot, and the Rams, with an 8-game losing streak, finishing last. It seems like there's a lot of really streaky teams here. I don't know if that's a coincidence or if that's just how Madden Sim is this year, which honestly is kind of cool because teams do get streaky in real life. Here's a look at our stat leaders, with J.J. McCarthy finishing with 30 touchdowns and 25 interceptions. Interesting season from him. I take it that the Minnesota playbook is probably the playbook in Sim where the passing numbers are absurdly high. Lamar Jackson led in terms of rating. A lot of the regular suspects here at the top. One of the issues I had with Madden 24 Sim is I feel like some of the top quarterbacks were almost too efficient. I feel like the game did a better job with that. More turnovers. A lot of guys with a lot of interceptions. Kyler Murray at 20. Drake May at 24. In terms of rushing, pretty similar to last year. It's very ratings-based, which is unfortunate for some of the young guys like Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, guys who are expected to be some of the top running backs in the NFL this year. I feel like that's not accurately portrayed by Madden Sim. And apparently Jaylen Warren is now on the Patriots. As for the receiving stats, shout out Lad McConkey. Hunter Renfrow tied for the lead in touchdowns with the Vikings, and Jamal Agnew gets 1,000 yards. I like that a lot of the very good receivers are at the top. Lamb, Kupp, Jettas, Chase, St. Brown. But I've always felt like your receivers in Madden Sim don't really matter, because guys like Jamal Agnew and Hunter Renfrow can go off. And it appears that that's still the case in Madden 25, unfortunately. The sack leader was Brandon Coleman, who allowed 21. Colton Miller at 17 feels pretty wrong. And then defensively, something I noticed is the lack of sacks across the league. Von Miller finishing with 16.5 is utterly hilarious, but in the NFC, only 4 guys had double digits. That feels really low. And apparently Jonathan Grenard is on the Bucs, so it seems like the trades are already going to be very wonky. Terrion Arnold leads the NFC in interceptions with 5. That's pretty cool. And ultimately, we ended up with no perfect kickers across the NFL. The only kicker who did not miss a field goal was Harrison Mevis, but he did miss an extra point, and it seems like he only played a few games. One of the cool things about franchise mode this year is the new records screen. You can sort by any team in terms of game, season, career, and then rookies as well, which I find to be really cool. Definitely more immersive than the past. And what's also cool is that these leaderboards update as your franchise goes along, which is to be expected. But I wanted to go to the Vikings here specifically because I know J.J. McCarthy broke some rookie records. And as you can see here, he's with guys like Adrian Peterson, Justin Jefferson, Randy Moss, and even Paul Krause in the Vikings leader books. That's some high company. So Dak Prescott ends up winning the MVP. He almost won it last year, but he takes it home this year with all quarterbacks in the top 10. Zach Taylor wins Coach of the Year with us finishing in second. Lamar Jackson, Chris Jones, Keon Coleman wins the Offensive Rookie of the Year. He finished with over 1,000 yards. And then Junior Colson at the Chargers wins the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Otherwise, most of the awards here make sense. Other than Von Miller, how is he an 86? He was like one of the worst players in the league last year. They updated Josh Hines Allen's name, so that's pretty cool. And it seems like the best defensive back award is mainly depicted based on who had the most interceptions, which is not as cool. I get that interceptions are really the only stat in this game you can measure for DBs, but obviously their performance and coverage matters a lot more than their interception total. Terrion Arnold does win the Defensive Rookie of the Year. That makes me smile. In terms of other notable awards, there's Brandon Ayuk. Ezekiel Elliott, third for best running back. I don't know about that one, EA. But anyway, Ayuk wins best receiver. Who knows if it'll be with San Francisco or somewhere else. Trey Smith and Tyler Smith ironically win the top 2 offensive line awards. They may not be related, but both of them can ball. Darius Robinson, the rookie, 7th for best defensive lineman. The interesting thing with Robinson is that he only has normal development, and the game handed out hidden devs like candy on Halloween. I think each team had at least 2 hidden dev players. Some teams had like 4 or 5, so it surprises me a guy like Robinson, who ended up going in the first round, didn't get a development trait, whereas it felt like 100 rookies across the NFL did. Anyway, here's a look at our playoff bracket. This seems pretty standard. Other than New Orleans getting the number 1 seed, I don't see anything here that's like egregiously bad. I'd be super surprised if a team like Detroit missed out on the playoffs, but otherwise, I don't think there's anything that crazy. And that would change in the first round because the Chargers knock off Kansas City. The Bills beat the Jets, the Colts beat the Ravens, and then mostly chalk in the NFC. Let's see if the Saints can continue their improbable season. And the answer ends up being no. We've got the Bengals and the Bills in the AFC Championship, and then the Niners and the Cowboys on the NFC side. And I feel like these matchups are kind of fitting. In the AFC, we've got the 2 great quarterbacks with Burrow and Allen, and 2 teams who have never won a Super Bowl. While in the NFC, the Niners and Cowboys are 2 historically great teams, but neither of them have won anything since the turn of the century. Ultimately, our Super Bowl matchup will be the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Dallas Cowboys. Definitely a matchup I could see in real life. And this also brings back very, very, very bad flashbacks for me. If you know, you know. Thanks for the reminder, EA. I appreciate it. Anyway, we'll talk about the Super Bowl matchup in a little bit, but first let's look at the Pro Bowl rosters. It doesn't look like you can play the Pro Bowl this year. I think that's been out of the game for a few years. I don't know. I never played the Pro Bowl when it was in the game. But here's a look at your rosters. Interestingly, there's only 4 receivers per conference. I think last year it was 6. And the AFC has 2 rookies with Ladd McConkey and Keon Coleman, so that's pretty cool. We had a few other rookies as well. Joe Alt made it. Quite the draft for the Chargers with 2 Pro Bowlers and then the Defensive Rookie of the Year with Junior Colson. Terrion Arnold, CB1. Love to see it. Cameron Dicker, the kicker, makes it. That's pretty cool. And now let's take a look at the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 59 between the Dallas Cowboys and the Cincinnati Bengals. And we're going to hop into this game. We're going to simcast it. We're going to play it if it's close. And we're going to take a look at the presentation to see if it has changed from last year. And to my surprise, the presentation has changed a lot. Let's start with the presentation going into the game. This is pretty similar to last year, but it looks cool with the Super Bowl 59 colors, and it's a little bit different from what we had last year. I think it looks a little bit better, but for the most part, the pregame introduction looks fairly similar. The two teams running onto the field, though, looks drastically different than last year, and that's also the case for regular season games as well. You'll get really good shots of guys warming up. I think it'll show stats and standings occasionally as well. So overall, it looks like the pregame introductions look a lot better than they did last year. So already in terms of presentation, we're off to a good start. Even though I plan on simcasting most of this game, I do want to play the kickoff because obviously the NFL has implemented the new kickoff rule that has been put into Madden, and I want to see it in the game firsthand. There's also a new kicking meter as well. It's kind of similar to the kicking meter on EA College Football, although it's a lot easier, which I honestly think makes a lot of sense because the kickers in the NFL are a whole lot better than the kickers in college. So I'm happy that it is easier than the one in the college football game. So Super Bowl 59 is underway, and it looks like Dallas is going to start with pretty good field position, nearing the 30-yard line at the 28. Honestly, that might be bad field position. Certainly, that would not be the case in the past, but with the new kickoff rules, teams are probably going to be getting better field position than they would have prior. It looks like, in terms of the quarterback coming out onto the field, that screen looks pretty much the same as last year. And now let's simcast quarter by quarter. A defensive start. Neither team ended up scoring in the first quarter, but that would change here in the second. Both teams were able to get into a groove offensively, and now we've got some points. Into the third quarter, Dallas leads at 14-10, but the Bengals would come out storming, and they would take a nice lead going into the final quarter. And here in the fourth, both teams would trade back punches. Dallas with a long touchdown from Ezekiel Elliott to tie the game at 24. Bengals look to march down the field. They get one back. They're up by 7. Cowboys very quickly down the field. They would tie the game with a little over 2 minutes to go. And I think this is where we're going to hop in. I am usering the Bengals, so we will play as them as we look to drive down the field and win the Super Bowl. Now, keep in mind, this is literally my first time playing Madden 25, so bear with me if it gets a little bit ugly. On first down, it's Jamar Chase, weaving through defenders, breaks a tackle, and is inside the 50. It's certainly helpful having one of the best kickers in the NFL with Evan McPherson on our roster, so we should be pretty close to field goal range. A couple plays before the 2-minute warning, Burrow is sacked. Viliami Fehoko brings him down. Jamar Chase back in the game. I like how it gives him a little injury tag, as it's Kadarius Toney. Yes, apparently Kadarius Toney is on the Bengals now. He's looking for his third consecutive Super Bowl. Again, it seems like the EA logic with the trades is a little bit questionable. Toney again, though, nearly gets the first down. Now, if I was taking this game seriously, I would kick the field goal. I trust Evan McPherson from 51, and it's a tie game. But since we're just doing this for fun, we're going to go for it. Up the middle, Zach Moss with the first down as he brings it to the 31-yard line. And now we're going to try to be smart with the clock. Minute and a half to go. Here's Burrow, goes short for the rookie out of Iowa, Eric All, who gets around 7 yards, and that'll push us closer and closer. Dallas is out of timeouts, and we've got full control of the clock. Burrow rolls right, hoping someone gets open, and it's Jamar Chase down the field, brings it to the 3 for a gain of around 21, and now we can choose some clock. We are in full control. Let's finish this one off for good. So after burning some clock here on first and goal with 50 seconds to go, we are not going to have Zach Moss score. He had the open lane to the left side, but I want to burn as much clock as possible. I don't want Dallas to get the ball back with much time. Second and goal, Moss up the middle. He is pushed in for a touchdown. I didn't want him to score there, but hey, I'm not going to complain because the Cincinnati Bengals now had the lead here in Super Bowl 59. And again, let's take another look at the new kicking meter. I mistimed that one, but it still goes through. Down the middle, 38-31. Let's see if the defense can hold. The Cowboys don't exactly have a lot of time left, and they also have no timeouts. We also get a look at the new kickoff rules again as well. This should go to Dallas's favor because they're going to start with better field position than they probably would have otherwise. So we'll see where they're going to open things up. and it'll be past the 30. So with 18 seconds to go, Dallas is going to have to move quick. No timeouts, no time to dilly-dally. Prescott on first down, throws it away. Good coverage, nobody's open. 2nd and 10, down to 14 seconds now. We'll see what Dak Prescott has in store here as he looks to throw it and again has to throw it away. Good on him for not taking sacks, but they've already wasted half of their time on this drive. They've got to get the ball out to a receiver if they want a chance to win the game. I think that goes without saying. 3rd and 10, Dak under pressure. He's sacked! Cam Sample brings him down, and that should do it. The Cowboys are not going to be able to call a timeout here. They probably don't have enough time to get back to the line of scrimmage and run another play. As you can see, the Bengals on the sideline are celebrating because they know what's up. The Cincinnati Bengals are Super Bowl champions. They defeat the Dallas Cowboys 38-31. So if Madden does end up getting the Super Bowl right 2 years in a row, then congratulations, Bengals fans. It looks like you'll be winning your first title. And the post-game celebration is a lot different than it's been in the past. You finally got Gatorade on the coach. The animations are different. They honestly look a lot better than they really ever have before. It's Randy Moss who's going to be passing out the trophy. That's pretty cool. I think it's always going to be Randy Moss, though, which might get a little bit repetitive, especially if you're 30 years into the future in your franchise with 75-year-old Randy Moss still pushing the Lombardi trophy through. How is he not going to have any gray hairs in 30 years? That's my question. I like that Roger Goodell is on the podium now. That's pretty cool as Coach Zach Taylor holds up the Lombardi trophy. Let's take a look at this box score, and then we'll wrap things up here for the episode. A lot of offense here in this Super Sim game. Both quarterbacks played really well. Ezekiel Elliott had a nice game on the ground and through the air as well, as did Jamar Chase and Kadarius Toney. Shout out 3-time Super Bowl champion Kadarius Toney. How many of you guys have more rings than him? None of yous. So interestingly, after the Super Bowl, the game automatically simulated to the next week, which I guess is cool. Again, I like having all of this easily accessible news right at my fingertips because as you can see on the right side of my screen, I can scroll and find all the most notable retirements. As for the season recap screen, it's pretty much the exact same it's been in the past. So that'll wrap up today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of this first Madden 25 video, and I hope you guys are excited for more Madden 25 content with episode 1 of the Broncos series coming tomorrow. Again, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.